My supervisor tried to take credit for my project in front of the CEO and smirked. I couldn't have done it without my team. When the CEO asked him a simple question about the details, he froze and whispered, "I'll let her answer." Smiling, I replied, "Then you'll love hearing that I'm the one getting the promotion instead." This happened last year, and I'm still shaking when I think about it. I work in logistics, not the flashy kind, just solid back-end operations. Real-time freight management. Boring stuff to most, but it's what keeps the world moving. I worked at a big logistics firm based in downtown Chicago. We'll call it Northport Logistics to keep things simple. I'd been with the company for about 6 years. Quiet. Kept my head down. Got the work done. My manager, let's call him Rick, had been there longer. Older than me, mid to late 40s. Always wore shirts a size too tight and acted like a motivational speaker. One of those guys who starts every sentence with "at the end of the day" and says, "Let's circle back," even if the discussion wasn't a circle to begin with. Rick loved meetings. Loved sounding smart in meetings. Especially when execs were in the room. But when it came to actual work, let's just say he was more of a copy-paste from someone else's email and forward it kind of guy. The project that started it all. Early last year, our department got handed a huge challenge: rework the regional freight routing model to reduce delivery time and cost by 15% minimum. We were bleeding money due to outdated systems that didn't adapt well to weather delays, construction zones, or sudden traffic issues. I volunteered to take the lead on the project. Rick, of course, approved it like he was doing me a favor. He said, "You're the best person for the job. I'll support you every step of the way." What he meant was, "You'll do all the work and I'll claim it when it looks shiny." I worked on it nonstop. Days, nights, weekends. I wrote a predictive model using real-time traffic data, weather patterns, and route history. I built it from scratch. I even had to teach myself how to integrate new API data feeds that weren't documented well. IT gave me a temporary sandbox to work in, and I almost burned it down twice, but eventually it worked. After 4 months, my model beat our legacy system by 22% in a simulation. That got attention. The attention shift. Suddenly, Rick was popping by my desk more often. "Hey, how's the project coming?" Smile. "Mind if I take a look at your latest dashboard?" Another smile. I wasn't stupid. I started documenting everything. Every decision, every email. I had backups on backups. I even exported the GitHub commit logs in PDF weekly just to be safe. I knew how these things went. And I'd seen Rick do this before, slide in when the praise was about to start and pretend he'd been the puppet master the whole time. Sure enough, the emails started. Rick began emailing VPs directly about our project and how our team's model was starting to show promising results. There was no R. There was no team. It was me, my laptop, and a lot of coffee. I called him out once in private, saying, "Just want to make sure people know this is my work." He smirked. Literally smirked. "Sarah, this is a team win. We all benefit, right?" I didn't push it. I just kept collecting evidence. The big presentation. About a month later, the CEO, Claire, a sharp, no-nonsense leader, scheduled a presentation to see what we'd come up with. This wasn't a random thing. Claire only sat in on major projects that had the potential to scale across the company. This was my shot. The one I had earned. I found out about the meeting through someone in finance. Not through Rick. Not through a calendar invite. Not even a group email. Claire had asked Rick to set up a review. Rick set the meeting, built a slide deck using my charts and data, and invited everyone except me. I sat in the office that day refreshing my inbox, waiting to be called in. Nothing. The smirk heard around the room. That afternoon, I walked past the conference room just as the presentation was wrapping up. Glass walls, fully visible. Rick was at the head of the table, standing like he was teaching a TED Talk. Claire was seated, nodding as he clicked through my slides. Then I saw him say it. I didn't hear the audio, but I saw the exact moment his mouth formed the sentence. I couldn't have done it without my team. The audacity. I went back to my desk. I was livid. I didn't know if I should cry or flip a desk. I just sat there staring at my monitor. A few minutes later, I got a ping on Teams. "Rick, hey, can you swing by the conference room for a sec? Claire has a technical question." Suddenly, I was useful again. I walked in. All eyes turned to me. Rick gestured like I was the assistant bringing coffee. Claire, who barely knew my face, said, "Can you explain how the system handles real-time delays from weather reports?" Rick tried to answer, but he floundered. He said something vague about machine learning flexibility and predictive matrices, which didn't mean anything. Then he looked at me. "Rick, Sarah can explain it better." The moment. I looked at Claire. Calm face. Firm tone. Me, "Sure." I built the model. Dead silence. Not a breath in that room. Claire blinked. "You built it?" Me, from scratch. The routing logic, the delay handlers, the back-end API calls. All of it. Rick looked like he'd swallowed a stapler. Claire turned her chair slightly, facing me more directly. Why weren't you presenting today? I shrugged. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The next morning felt strange. Everyone in the office was quiet around me, like they knew something had shifted, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Rick didn't stop by my desk. No Teams messages. No weird passive-aggressive comments about collaborative credit. Just silence. At 10:00 a.m., I walked into the private meeting Claire had scheduled. She was already sitting at the small round table near the windows in her office. She had a printout of my slides and my code snippets on the table. Her assistant closed the door behind me. Claire, sit. I did. She didn't waste time. Claire, tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. I told her how the project started. How Rick told me to take the lead. How I built every part of the model. How I tested it, refined it, and even pitched adjustments to IT myself when the system ran hot on data loads. She nodded, took notes, barely blinked. Then she said, Claire, he told the board it was his idea. I just stared. She continued, matter of fact, he claimed you and a few others helped implement it, but the system design was his. That was a lie. A complete lie. I handed her the documentation I brought. Printed emails, screenshots, my personal notes from early meetings, and, most importantly, GitHub commit logs that showed my name on every code change from day one. She said nothing for a few minutes. Then she asked the question I hadn't expected. Claire, did you know he was applying for the Director of Digital Optimization role? I blinked. No. He never mentioned it. She exhaled slowly, almost like she was exhausted by what she was about to say. Claire, he pitched this project as proof of his technical leadership. It's on the board agenda for final approval this quarter. His salary would double. So would his oversight. Then she looked me in the eye. But here's the problem. If I pull the thread on this, I don't know what else will unravel. That line stuck in my head all day. The new conflict. 2 days passed. Then came the twist. I got a message from HR. Hi Sarah, just a routine check-in. Can you come by this afternoon? Routine my ass. I walked in and saw Rick sitting in the HR office already. He didn't look surprised to see me. In fact, he looked relaxed. Too relaxed. HR rep. Hey Sarah, we wanted to ask a few questions about the freight model project. Rick brought up some concerns. Concerns? He claimed I'd violated company data protocol by using an external GitHub repo. That I hadn't used the internal server for project storage. That I'd risked company IP security by keeping documentation on my personal Google Drive. I couldn't believe it. He was flipping it on me. HR took notes while Rick talked about how he'd tried to mentor me through the process, but said I was independent to a fault. I knew what this was. He was trying to get ahead of it. Muddy the water. If he went down, he was going to try and pull me with him. I didn't lose my cool. I just asked, do you want to see the logs from the internal server showing I backed up every update within company policy? The HR rep paused. Rick shifted in his seat. I had it all. Version control. Timestamps. Company VPN access logs. Then I dropped this. Also, the external GitHub repo is private. It's linked to my company email and used only for version tracking. The model itself was always built and stored on the secure sandbox. IT can confirm. I left the meeting with a dry mouth and a tighter chest, but I held the line. The office whispers. By the following week, the office was buzzing. Not loudly, but you could feel it. People were talking, but not in front of me. I caught 2 analysts whispering by the coffee machine who instantly went quiet when I walked in. One guy I'd never even spoken to sent me a Slack message. Hey, just wanted to say I saw the presentation. You were amazing. I had no idea you built all of that. Another message came from a junior in IT. Watch your back. Rick's been meeting with a VP almost every morning. The smear campaign had started. I didn't react. I documented. Every message, every interaction, every hint that Rick was trying to spin the story. Then came the next big surprise. Claire calls again. Another meeting invite. From Claire. Subject line. Quick chat. This time, it wasn't just me and her. Also in the room, James, our company's legal counsel. Not good. Claire didn't smile. Claire, I wanted you to hear this from us first. Rick filed a formal complaint. He's alleging that you misused proprietary data and exposed the company to liability by hosting parts of the project outside our secure infrastructure. My stomach dropped. I opened my mouth, but she raised her hand. Claire, we've already started an internal audit. So far, everything you've provided checks out. But we need to be thorough. James, the lawyer, added, we're also reviewing Rick's emails. including those sent from his personal account to a non-company address that mentioned ownership of IP. That caught me off guard. Claire didn't flinch. He sent your project files to someone else. A consultant he wanted to bring in post-promotion. Without telling anyone. There it was. Rick wasn't just stealing credit, he was planning to profit from it outside the company. Hearing that Rick had emailed my project files to someone outside the company was a punch to the chest. It wasn't just stealing credit anymore. It was potential theft of intellectual property. James, the company lawyer, leaned in and said it flat out. This is serious, Sarah. If what we find is what we think it is, this won't just be an HR issue. It could be legal. Claire added, for now, don't engage with Rick. Don't respond to anything he sends. Don't mention this to anyone else. I nodded, quietly panicking on the inside. The secret folder. Back at my desk, I pulled up everything I had, code versions, project plans, my notes. And I found something strange in the shared company drive. A folder, hidden deep under a random finance directory. Rick had created it using a naming trick that made it easy to miss, like an old invoice folder from 2018. Inside were files with slightly modified versions of my code, but the author tag had been changed to r.jenkins. And the formatting was cleaner, almost like he'd been planning to present it as a more polished version of his own work. I took screenshots. I saved the access logs. I backed up the whole directory onto a secure USB and turned it over to James. James looked at it and said, he's not even trying to hide it well. The sudden praise. 2 days later, another twist, this time from the top. Rick sent a department-wide email praising Sarah's brilliance and dedication to the model project, calling it a landmark achievement for our division, and saying he was proud to have mentored such a rising star. Mentored? He even added, great teamwork. Couldn't have done it without her talent. He was clearly trying to cover himself. Act like we were on the same side all along. That way, if this blew up, it'd look like he'd always been supportive. I didn't reply. Neither did most of the team. But I started getting weird messages. From senior staff. Hey, can we grab coffee sometime soon? Would love to hear your thoughts on predictive modeling. Congrats on the success, Sarah. Didn't realize you were leading the project, well done. Suddenly, people 3 or 4 levels above me were acting like I was someone important. That's when it clicked. Claire was making moves behind the scenes. The next bombshell. Then came the twist I never saw coming. A woman named Anika, who used to work in our department before moving to another branch in Texas, emailed me. Hey, saw your name in the latest operations memo. Not surprised at all. Just wanted to say, be careful with Rick. He pulled something similar on me 2 years ago. I didn't have the proof you probably do. But I always wondered how he got that bonus for the Phoenix Lane optimization project. Because that wasn't his idea either. I froze. I pulled up the project archive from 2 years ago. There it was, a report signed by Rick with Anika barely mentioned in the appendix. That report led to a $10,000 bonus and Rick's promotion to senior manager. He had done this before. But this time, I had the receipts. I forwarded Anika's message, with her permission, to Claire and James. James replied within 5 minutes, we'll add this to the file. This might be bigger than we thought. The unexpected ally. Later that week, I got an unexpected visitor at my desk, Janine, a VP from finance. I'd spoken to her twice before, Max. She leaned in and whispered, I heard Rick's in trouble. Don't trust his assistant. She's been copying stuff off the shared drive and forwarding it to Rick's personal email. What? Now his assistant was involved? I thanked her, then went straight to James. He confirmed the company had already started monitoring data traffic. And yes, some files had been accessed at odd hours. From Rick's login. From his assistants. The internal shakeup. The next day, a meeting invite hit the entire strategy team. Subject, organizational restructuring discussion. Rick's name wasn't on it. Claire was leading the meeting. At exactly 2 p.m., she stepped into the conference room with 2 folders in her hands. Before we begin, I want to clarify something, she said. This is not a layoff. This is a leadership shift. Everyone shifted in their seats. She opened one folder. We've completed a review of the predictive routing model. It's now being considered for national expansion. I want to recognize the person who created it, built it, and protected its integrity under pressure. She looked at me. Sarah will now lead this project directly as we scale it out. People clapped. I felt lightheaded. Then she opened the second folder and said, there are some individuals who won't be joining us on this next chapter. You'll be hearing from HR shortly. My heart thumped. She didn't say names. But the silence said enough. The email went out late Thursday afternoon. From Claire Ellis, CEO. Subject, immediate organizational updates. It wasn't long. Just a few sentences. But the final line hit like thunder. Effective immediately, Richard Jenkins is no longer with Northport Logistics. The moment it hit, Slack went wild. People DM'd each other with, and OMG, and finally. One coworker, Jenna from IT, walked by my desk and whispered, Was that you? I didn't answer. I just stared at my monitor. The confrontation. But Rick didn't leave quietly. Friday morning, I came in early. I wanted a quiet moment before the storm hit. But at 8:04 a.m., the elevator opened and he walked in. Still wearing his badge. Still wearing that same smug look, but this time it was cracked. Rick, you think this is over? He said it low, under his breath, standing 2 feet from my desk. I stood up slowly. It was over the second you lied to the CEO and stole my work. He chuckled like it was still some kind of game. Rick, you could have had a great career here with me backing you. Instead, you threw it away. For what? Credit? Ego? Now I was shaking. Not from fear, from pure, burning anger. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just said, you used me. You lied to everyone. You dragged my name through HR. You tried to make me look like the problem while you were sending company data to outside consultants. That hit him. His mouth twitched. Rick, that was strategy. I was trying to make us look scalable. No. You were trying to make yourself look promotable. People had started gathering. Quietly. Behind cubicle walls. In doorways. You could feel the tension. And then, the most unexpected voice cut through the silence. Claire. She had walked in behind him. No one saw her come off the elevator. Claire, Richard. You shouldn't be here. He turned to her slowly. Rick, you think she's clean? She kept project files on personal drives, Claire, already cleared by legal. You know that. Rick, you're making a mistake. Claire stepped forward. Claire, you made it. Repeatedly. Over years. You've stolen credit from 2 different employees that we know of. You lied to the board. You manipulated access to data. You tried to destroy someone's career because she outshined you. Then she looked at me. Claire, Sarah. You should go take your new office. We'll handle this. But I didn't move. Not yet. I looked at Rick one last time. No more fear. No more anxiety. Just clarity. You did this to yourself. The fallout. Security escorted him out 5 minutes later. His assistant? Let go the same day. She didn't say anything to anyone on her way out. Just grabbed her coat and walked out the side door with red, swollen eyes. I sat in my new office that afternoon. Same floor. Better view. Nameplate on the door. Keycard access. It didn't feel real. People came by. Some to congratulate me. Some to whisper, finally, under their breath. One person, Sam from Data Analytics, left a sticky note on my monitor. You earned this. Don't ever let anyone dim that. But I couldn't feel happy. Not yet. That night, I sat in my apartment alone, staring at my laptop. I thought about all the weekends I gave up. All the hours I poured into that algorithm. All the moments I doubted myself while Rick stood in meetings smiling like he built something. I thought about Anika. What she must have felt when she had no backup. How many others like her had been dismissed, stepped on, pushed aside while Rick climbed up. It made me sick. But I also felt relief. Because this time, truth actually won. I got the credit. I got the promotion. I got to keep my name intact. But it cost me something too, my peace. My trust. That quiet belief that hard work always speaks for itself. Now I know, it doesn't. Sometimes you have to fight for it to be heard. Closure. A month later, Claire offered me a chance to present the model to the entire national leadership team. I walked into that boardroom with full ownership, not just of the project, but of my story. Before I started the presentation, Claire introduced me with a sentence I'll never forget. This is Sarah. She's not just the architect of our future. She's proof that doing the right thing still matters. I don't know what happened to Rick after he left. Some say he tried to apply at a competitor. Others say he's consulting now under a fake title. I don't care. What I do know is this. I didn't win because I was smarter. I won because I was prepared. Because I documented everything. Because I stood my ground, even when it would have been easier to stay quiet. And if you're reading this and you've got a Rick in your life, start writing things down. Start backing things up. Because when the truth finally breaks through, it's loud,